hydrated. We're ready for the episode. Looks like we are streaming to Twitter now. We had some weird issues, but he's got that spicy water.
Spicy water.
Okay,
The best.
Simon, welcome to another week of the Navbar Podcast. How are
He-
you this week?
Hello, my friend. I'm very, very well. As you can see, I've got a nice little sun glow. It's been beautiful weather.
Pretty nice there.
Being in the sun always makes me happy and makes everything better. So I'm pretty good. What about yourself?
Yeah, out that window it's very nice and blue, but out that window it's very grey. And I feel like this morning it's been a bit of a slow start, but yesterday it was a beautiful sunny day. And like yourself, I just am so much happier when it's blue skies and sunny. And I just
Yeah.
I got so much work done. I got so much I've been working on this kind of bigger video, comparing or being competing against AI to build an application with Superbase. And it's been the first video where I've storyboarded everything out, and there's more of a story behind it, and different scenes and things. And it's just been this huge thing to to get stuff written for. It just seems like this massive thing to start.
Yeah.
And yesterday I just sat out in the sunshine with a laptop on the hammock.
As you
And-
do.
yeah, as you do. The first time that I've actually worked from the hammock, I think. And it turns out that's the most productive place to work. I wrote the entire script for every scene for this whole video, just sitting in the lovely sunshine. So can
Yeah.
totally relate.
Yeah, you do have to, if you can remove all friction and stress, which when you're in a hammock in the sun with a little breeze, it's like your mind has literally nothing to worry about, and then you can find the deep zone focus, which is super cool.
I think this is something I need to do more often. I've noticed after moving my office around how much nicer it is, just having a slightly different space and
Yep.
be looking at a different perspective out the window or whatever. And I think I've realized switching up the environment is so important to getting over those humps of creativity blocks and things.
Trick yourself into a fresh start.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Everything, it feels new and exciting.
Totally. When you're going into an office, or you're going to work from the coffee shop, or from a co-working space or something like that, you are you're switching up your environment, and it's switching up the sounds around you, and just the smells in the air and everything.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I need to be more intentional about sprinkling that throughout my day working from home, so that it kind of changes the senses slightly, so I'm not just in this airtight soundproof box all day.
Yep. Yeah. I don't do it enough, but I you hear always people in our industry saying, "Oh, I don't understand I don't understand why, but the coffee shop is where I'm most productive." This is it's trying to recreate the open office where there's conversation and noise and distractions, and typically you don't want this when you deep focus. But just the change of scenery of just walking 10 minutes to a local cafe, and also you're not just gonna sit there with the coffee and then just slack off on Twitter, and people you feel like you're kind of, hey, I have
You're on
to look.
display.
Yeah.
People can see your screen.
there's managers behind my shoulders looking at what I do. But yeah, whenever I do a lot of little sessions in the garden like this, just behind that door there's also a hammock that I got after or just during you sick picked a hammock once as the sick pick. And I was it reminded me that I should go and work in it. And it's every time I do it, obviously you can't record or do super complex stuff, but just creative outlet and storyboarding, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's a good way to do it. And also
Yeah.
just the smells in the air are different. You hear birds chirping and stuff. You've got nature around you. It feels, it's a nice way to switch it up.
Look at us privileged Australians or living in Australia.
Oh yeah, you've just got to watch
got
out for
birds
the
and
snakes and the
kangaroo.
drop bears dropping from the trees.
Oof.
Those stand under.
These one, yeah. This is the main reason why I stay inside. The drop bears are no joke. Seriously, But yes, so I can say it because I'm Swiss and I've kind of designed my way into life to be like this. But I do sometimes work from the hammock and I look up and I see kangaroos. And kangaroos for me will never be not exotic. Like it's always like it's like an Australian being in the Swiss Alps in the snow. It's like, oh my God, I'm here. Like, so yeah, this just brings so much joy to my life. Just the simple fact of seeing little roos around just
Yeah,
from
I
my
guess
backyard.
I've always just grown up taking kangaroos for granted. They've never seemed that weird to me. As an adult, like, you look at how they actually move and you're like, man, this is a very strange creature.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've just always been around.
My kids, because they're literally all over the school backyard, whatever grassy area. Like every single day, kids go to school and there's kangaroos. And both my kids are like, oh, the other kids don't care. It's like it's pigeons or whatever. Like the normal. They grew up here, and it's like there's always been kangaroos, so they just yeah, that's the normal thing. Where even us coming from Sydney, where you don't really have kangaroos at school, and me from Switzerland, I'm like, oh my God, my kids go to school. There's kangaroos there. It's so cool. We're just super excited every single day.
Yeah, I guess we didn't have like kangaroos on like the school grounds when I was growing up. It wasn't that rural, but
Yeah.
yeah, I assume that would be up where we are now, for
And
sure.
every now and then they just disappear for a week, and we're like, this it's growing. People build houses. It's gonna wipe off the kangaroos, and then they just all come back. They were just somewhere down the road and back.
Yeah,
This is cool. I like this life.
it is a good life. It's a good life. In tech news,
Yes,
Next.js Conf happened last week.
it
Did
did.
you watch Next.js Conf? Are you up to date?
I did not. I was not feeling well at all last week, which is part of the reason we didn't record. And I knew it was on, and I was like, I must follow, but I did not follow. I know Next 15 and Turbo Pack, but that's about it. But
Yeah,
you are going
that's
to
pretty
tell me
much
about
it.
it. Oh,
That's
that's it. All right.
that's most of the updates. Next.js 15, which came out just before Next.js Conf, so a couple of days before Next.js Conf, it went stable, which is very exciting. The only sort of well the I guess the big breaking change that affected us at Superbase was they've made all of the cookies and headers functions and things that you use asynchronous, which means we just needed to change the way that we suggest people do that with Next.js 15.
Oh, in the guides,
Um,
I was like, you've just is the whole Superbase front end already Next.js 15?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh well, no, maybe they're usually pretty
but
quick.
in your guides of how to use,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I keep running into issues like while I'm like putting together an example or whatever that
Yeah.
yeah, things give me lots of red squigglies, and I'm like, oh yeah, we need to go and update that as well.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that was sort of the big thing. Another bigger thing for other people is more control over caching. And so
Yep.
yeah, when they launched the app router, Next.js was like super heavy on the caching side, and kind of cached everything by default, and you had to like opt in to dynamic routes. And I
Yep.
think that caused a lot of confusion for people who were, you know, not expecting that to be the case. And especially, like, we probably saw it more again from the Superbase side because, like, we have a hosted database, and a lot of our content is around, like, fetching data from the database, which is
Hmm.
usually a dynamic call. And so people, especially with like authentication and things, people were running into lots of issues. And so they've kind of reeled that in a lot and made it dynamic by default, and then given really good helpers to opt in for any of that caching, which I think
Okay.
is definitely the right call.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, again, they had just a wonderful presentation and just heaps of interesting talks. And I don't know how they pull that whole conference together. It must be just so much work.
I must go and like I haven't looked at any of. Usually, I just watch like a rundown of like highlights, so I kind of have a concept of what the conference looked like in the stage and the intros. This year, I haven't looked at anything. Remember last year we had our first guest on the pod, Luke
That's
Bennett,
right.
who, like, I pinged him literally an hour before going live because he was talking about Next.js Conf in our Slack, and I was like, would you like to continue this conversation live on camera in half an hour? And he did, and that was great.
Yeah, well, that one was a super interesting one to do as well, because it was like, yeah, right when a whole bunch of stuff changed. It
Yes.
was like they were launching a whole bunch of new stuff in the app router.
Yeah,
Um,
that was the big, probably more changes than this one that just
yeah,
kind of stabilizes
yeah,
these
for sure. Yeah,
things. Yeah.
this is definitely like tweaking things, stabilizing things, and moving forward. Um,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, TurboPack. There's a whole bunch of work. Like I just haven't. I guess I'm not working on any big enough applications day to day to really benefit from like the caching of things like TurboPack, and so um, I guess I don't have those headaches. But there was a big focus on like we're finally like this far along with TurboPack. It is now stable for development, and we're close to being stable for production, which is very exciting.
It is. Now I have a question, and I'm going to hold you accountable for the damage. I am currently responsible. So I'm doing consulting with ThinkMill for a company called Infinex, which is in the Web3 crypto space. It's kind of like mind-bogglingly big amount of users and money flying around. I am responsible for the marketing website, which is Next.js 14. It's a fairly small website, but it does get a bit of data from the API from the actual app, which is the big thing. Should I upgrade? Should I consider upgrades to Next 15 now? And if so, what would be the benefits?
Absolutely, you should. And the benefits will be bragging rights that you're on Next.js 15 the week after it comes out. Obviously.
This like legit is often quite a flex or like an opportunity to. Well, one of the things I want to do with this company is kind of showcase the amazing stuff that comes out of the engineering team. There is a crazy amount of talent in the design and dev team, like all the way to the back end. I am kind of like just one of the, I don't know, 20 plus people. And I work, my main ownership thing is the marketing website. So it's Next.js, Tailwind CSS, a surprise. I didn't enforce it. I arrived and it was there, and I just kind of said, "Hey, Simon, you kind of fit that stack. Here you are."
Yeah. Yeah, I think like performance wise you probably won't see like
Yeah.
any major improvements. I think the only thing would be like, you either deal with the like minor breaking changes now or you deal with them later. If there's time to deal with them now, it's probably a good idea just so you can kind of align with what they're working on in terms of caching and stuff like that.
Yep.
But they did release also a code mod because there are breaking changes with this version.
Yeah.
They released a code mod that can go through and basically find. I think I don't know if there are any other breaking changes, but yeah, one of the minor ones is the headers and cookies stuff.
That you need to set manually now, where it was like trying to do a default.
Well, it's just that it returns, rather than returning the headers directly or returning the cookies directly, it returns a promise that resolves to the cookies. Or the
Ah, so yeah, you have to. Yeah.
So you just got to put the word await in front
Await,
of it.
await, await.
And I'm pretty sure that's all the code mod is doing. I wanna actually like read through the code of it and see whether it's literally just like if string contains
Insert
cookies,
await.
then append await in front of it. But yeah, there is a code mod. So yeah, I would right now while doing the pod, I would branch the project. I would run the code mod and run the update and see how much is broken.
Yeah, keep going.
There you go.
And then done.
And push to prod.
Oh, lots of red crosses in the CI. What's going on?
And
Okay,
I saw
good
you
to-
have been posting some very cool stuff on Twitter about what you've been working on there.
Yeah, so this is very new to me and everyone involved. Like Web 3 is very different to Web 2. But Infinex, I don't want to go too crazy in the details, but the world of crypto has centralized finance, which is kind of like the big adult simplified, like you create an account and we do all the complicated stuff for you. But then that centralized thing owns your money and your crypto and stuff. And basically they abstract stuff away for you, but in exchange you give it to them and say, hey, do the thing for me. And that means technically they can lose or run away with your money or lock you or whatever. And yes, this is a wild space. And then
there's just cool visual stuff that you're doing.
I'm just explaining the centralized finance, and then there's the decentralized, which is people that are like, no, we want to be independent and manage our own currencies and crypto and transfer. which is very risky because you can easily send the money to the wrong place and completely lose it, or someone gives you a link that you think is legit, but it's like, ah, thank you. But you can do it, but it's very fragmented, and you need to create a wallet here, and then you need to put money here, and there's gas fees and lots of complicated stuff. And Infinex basically tries to bring the UX of the centralized finance, something like Coinbase or Binance, which is like very established big companies, but try to do it on chain in a way that's kind of like decentralized, where you completely own everything. The term is, hello, cicadas, you can probably hear them.
I heard them just fade in there.
Yeah. What is he talking about?
Yeah, he's talking about Web3 again.
Yeah.
Block him out.
Basically, the difference is decentralized, like non-custodial. You don't give custody of your assets or whatever. You keep complete control, but Infinex builds that UX that feels like the whole polished service where you don't have to worry about gas fees and anything, but it's actually abstracting a lot of stuff. So it's very much trying to bring the Web 2 vibe to the crazy wild west of Web 3. And I didn't realize before, because I know nothing about crypto, but people had to do really crazy jumping through hoops to transfer money and do things. And
right.
Essentially, the engineering team is amazing, and a lot of work we do is with React and React Query and Tailwind CSS and very front-end Web 2 stuff I'm used to. And I want to start amplifying all this work because the talent, it's one of the most talented, or cracked, as they say in crypto, team. I've heard this word bullish and cracked about 200 times a day. The team is cracked, and they do a phenomenal job. And I'm like, it's a shame to not put it forward. So I want to start doing this.
Yeah, nice. But from a visual perspective, I saw some really cool stuff that like a card game thing that you posted.
Yeah, so I gotta say the marketing team is also amazing. They have all these ideas to create excitement and bring people on the journey. The UI I was showing is kind of like it's called Bull Run, and basically you open a pack of cards. Just think of like whatever fantasy basketball or stuff, or like upper deck basketball cards. Like you buy a pack and then you open it and, oh, I've got Michael Jordan and Derrick Rose and whatever. So you get 5 different cards with different cryptocurrencies. There's about 30 in there. And then you can get more cards, of course, more packs. And then you choose a hand of 5, and it's kind of like, this is your hand for the next 24 hours. And you play this. And then if the currencies score well, you kind of get points. And I imagine at some point the points turn into rewards and winning stuff. So it's kind of like gamification of, it's that you don't really spend money, but you like play games with the fact that you have an account and some assets that sitting there. So it's kind of interesting. And if you take that away, like the whole weird concept in Web3, like from a UI perspective, there's a crazy amount of easing transition and loading animation and state and all that stuff. And
yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. It looks amazing. Like it's like spreading the cards out from a deck and then they're moving around the screen. So is that all Tailwind? And then like, is it like Framer Motion doing the animation-y stuff?
Correct. There is a bunch of Framer, mostly Tailwind CSS transitions. And then I don't do any of that part, but the state game logic it's amazing. Like it's literally, it feels like what game development would feel like, because you have like, has the user opened the pack? Yes. Has he got this card? And if you play the same card twice, it penalizes by 10%. Otherwise, people would choose the strongest currency and put 5 cards of this. And the whole game was kind of like, oh, well, now everyone has the same hand because they all know about the currencies.
Yeah.
So there's so much state, and you look at it and you're like, oh, what even is the tech behind this? And it's literally React Query, Tailwind CSS, Framer Motion.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
That's so cool. And is it using like real-time changes in that, like in those currencies from?
Yes.
That's, yeah.
And I've teased with a screenshot, and there's a PR that's open, but it's not merged yet. But one of the engineers who joined recently, also from ThinkMill, he's working on a design system and added this charting library component. And so the next iteration, because if you go now, you can see the cards in the leaderboard, but the next iteration will have this, like the last 24 hours, the 5 currency you have, do a little squiggly line, like how they trended,
Yeah.
and it just animates in, and you can see like it's beautiful to watch, even if you don't care about crypto or anything. Like you could imagine the same UI in any sort of game or whatever, Formula One racing, or like just there's so incredible real time stuff.
Yeah. It'd be fun to like I don't know, turn it into a card game about like web frameworks or something. Like see
The
which
trending,
web
yeah.
frameworks are like trending on GitHub's
Google
card
Trends.
more or
Ooh. Let me fork that repo real quick.
yeah.
Another thing that blew my mind is when I saw it when I joined the company. There wasn't really any UI, but they were doing prototypes and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's all WebSockets and stuff in real time. And turns out it's just using React Query, and it gets data from the API. And then React Query has like a refresh query interval that you can set in the options, and it's set to 5 seconds. And because of, like I mentioned at the start, the volume of transactions is so big that every 5 seconds, it's likely things have changed. So about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they did a big NFT patron sale thing. And in my head, I was like, oh yeah, maybe they'll sell 2 or 3, whatever. They sold $67 million worth of NFTs in 2 weeks. And so when I was helping to build, they were like, can you do an incremental counter, and it needs to animate every time the value changes? And in my head, I was like, but who's going to be on the page long enough to see it change?
Yeah.
And when the sales opened, I looked at the thing, and it was going just like absolutely going berserk. And yeah, so this, and when I was tasked to build this, I was like, I can do the CSS transition, but I have no idea how. Well, I have to do a lot of research to work out how to connect to the database. And then someone said, no, dude, there's already this use refresh validation hook, whatever. You just put this, it's gonna give you the numbers and just remount the component every time it changes.
Wow.
And so I literally just built the animation with Tailwind CSS, and it just pulled the data in real time. And I was like, I'm cracked.
Oh man, that's awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Just like a whole world that I have no experience with whatsoever. And like just hearing the term NFTs again, I'm like, oh wow, NFTs are still like people are trading NFTs. That's awesome.
I never understood. I always understood that you can. It's like a contract, yeah, and you can. There's the picture, whatever, the JPEG of the monkey that people joke about, but you can attach anything to that. You can attach ownership to a house, literally, like the contract, the legal thing could be an NFT. And in the Infinix sense, that patron NFT gives you a voice, or like a say in the governance of like what Infinix should do next. So it's actually, when you think crypto, you always think like super dodgy and like scammy. And Infinix try to do exactly the opposite. They bring all the different cryptocurrencies and chains together, and everything is like open governance. So there's a governance web page, and every decision kind of has to be voted, almost like GitHub issues, and then agreed. And then this is okay. This almost like a whatever confederation or like the parliament. Like this has been accepted and voted. This is going to be the new governance rules, whatever. And I think I don't completely, hopefully I don't say anything wrong, but by getting this NFT, you kind of have a say in shaping the future in Infinix and how it should, which direction it should go. So it's kind of cool. Like that's the sort of stuff. I'm sure the majority of people buy it hoping that it goes off and then they resell it for profit. But there's also people that like, so instead of raising funds, this $67 million, instead of doing a Series A, and raise that amount of money, they're like, hey, people of influence in the crypto space, buy that thing, and you're gonna have you will be basically a stakeholder with a strong say in what we should do. And it's kind of getting people to invest through that NFT purchase instead of like Series A funding stuff. And then I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And the marketing tactics to get the amount of FOMO that they created was pretty cool. I might just like very quickly explain that they did a four way of sale. And so the first thing is that NFT was the same price for anyone. If you LeBron James or like any random person, you have the same access to buy the same thing for the same price. But the way they did it is they opened it only for LeBron James and friend. I'm using that as a LeBron didn't buy an NFT, but like the LeBrons of crypto. For the first wave, which was 48 hours, they only let the top tier people buy this and no one else. And it was, hey, wait, your turn is coming soon. And then the second one was like the second tier level key people of influence. And so it created this this guy, this company, like this massive entity. They all bought in, and so you could see people basically getting their wallet ready when the next wave comes. And the final wave was like basically anyone who wants to buy one, and it created this whole literally FOMO. Like people were, and I was editing videos. They were at a conference sending me clips, and I would just do YouTube shorts with captions and just create so much momentum. And then just that in 2 weeks, they ended up to $67 million. And I've never seen an execution of a sale online this phenomenal. That was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What an interesting world to have been brought into. Like, like you can take your existing skills of like Tailwind and UI and all of that stuff, and then just like dive into a whole different world and be learning so much about this whole space.
Yeah, in a way, like most of the work I do is very much Next.js Tailwind, like it's my wheelhouse. But then you kind of dip your toe in this completely new world. And to be honest, I still don't really have much of interest. I don't have any crypto investment, or I believe most people in the company do.
More weeks.
But I do. It went from like this is like just weird stuff to like, oh, that I see. And what I'm really excited about is the actual use of web technologies to kind of create I think the if you go on the Infinex Twitter, like they call themselves the UX layer, and it's really, there's a lot of cool stuff in crypto, but the user experience is absolutely crap. And so they bring that kind of really nice polished, like linear / Stripe vibes, like of a super polished way to do banking or whatever, but in the crypto space, which is cool. Yeah.
And you should take inspiration from this marketing rollout for your next course and work out a way to get some high profile people that can access the course first, and then the next people build up some FOMO of people wanting to buy it, and people get like a ticket number, and when their number comes up, they only have a certain bracket of time to purchase the course.
It's it honestly, like I was watching in awe, and I was preparing for that campaign without really knowing the magnitude of how crazy. Like I don't know much about crypto, but I'm pretty sure this is the biggest. I think it's even the biggest single NFT sale campaign in the whole history of, like, again, don't take my word for it, but it's a big deal. And the way it was just like run so smoothly and so planned. And I was like, I've always been interested in marketing. I'm not as good as I would like to, but when you sell courses and stuff, do your own stuff, you kind of, it's part of the gig, yeah. And just watching that, I was like, this is so smart. Like good job, guys and girls. That was cool.
A lot of interesting psychology stuff in there.
And there was no slimy, scammy, like try to trap you into something. And you can go to, like, if you go to infinex.xyz, there's a Patreon NFT page, and now the sale's finished, but it shows kind of like the different tiers of different waves of people, like the big entities, and then the big people, and then the regular Joes, and like it looks like a concert lineup, and literally the component is called Patrons Festival Lineup .tsx, and it looks like this massive name with like the big bands, and then like second tier, third tier, and it really reminds that everyone got access with the same price tag and the same chance to buy it within a window. And I imagine other sales, like like some super wealthy crypto investor would say, I'll buy all of these, thank you. I will buy all 100,000 NFT tokens you have, and then resell them like instantly the next day. So there was this really ethical kind of like, say everyone's got the same chance. So it's nice to see like a super powerful marketing campaign done in a way that is also not trying to like I don't know, give unfair advantage to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, super interesting.
Mm.
That's yeah, awesome. Very cool. And very cool that yeah, like your existing skills in Next.js and Tailwind can like go and be used in this completely different world. Even like building like, Web3 stuff and yeah, super interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously you can see from my choice of words that I have no idea about any of this world or what any of it really means.
I am only 1 degree ahead of you. Like
Yeah.
the people, most of the company are like diehard crypto. Like the founder is like a literal OG of like crypto. Like part of the success is also Kane, the founder of Infinex, has the street cred like not many in the industry.
Right.
And so you combine this with the engineering power that he surrounded himself with and the marketing genius. It's just it's impressive.
Very
At first I was like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, and honestly, cryptos like my interest bubble and crypto is very apart from each other. But seeing the when you start to think in terms of engineering and marketing, there's really interesting uh, meshing area and like surface of interest.
Yeah. And this is one of the really like interesting like cool things that comes with working for a consultancy like you do, like ThinkMill, like they would work on so many different projects, and so you don't like necessarily need to go all in on Web3 and crypto stuff. You can kind of like dip into this project and learn a whole bunch of stuff, and then like it may do incredibly well, and it you know you might end up working on it for a very long time, but if it did flop, then you could just jump to another project. And yeah, it's cool that you're able to touch so many different things. Um,
Yes, well, agency land comes with these pros and cons. There's always a lot of like fires to put out and like changes of direction. But sometimes it feels like you can, if you get bored in a job, you can switch jobs without the trauma of resigning, looking for like you're
yeah,
still with the same team, but like what I'm doing now at Infinix is completely different than other client projects I was involved with. So
yeah, yeah, which is why I think it's kind of like it's a double edged sword, but I think a really good way for juniors or people who are trying to get experience with web development to go and work in a consultancy, because you get to see so many different types of projects and so many different
yeah,
things. But then there's obviously the negative side that there is often a lot of things on fire and a lot of like time critical work that needs to happen, which maybe isn't the best environment for someone who's new to web development. But yeah, it has the potential to be a really a really great place to learn a whole bunch of stuff in a short
yep.
amount of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that believe that it's a rite of passage. Like if you want to be a seasoned dev, you have to be in a. It's not. I don't believe it's true necessarily, but a lot of people believe like you have to be through this agency environment to be exposed to stuff, but also deadlines, communicating with clients, and reacting to. Like most people hire a company. I made that mistake myself. A fun story when I joined ThinkMill in 2019, literally the first week of January, like right after Christmas break. I joined as a CSS enthusiast, Tailwind, React. First job, Simon, you're gonna be not the architect, but like you're gonna be like leading, like load bearing, we call it, a project on React Native. And I was like, what? I've never done React Native. And I remember doing the talk with the client, and he asked a question very specific, like literally first week I had onboarded on React Native, which turns out it's not that hard if you know React, and styling. CSS Tailwind helps because styling in React Native is all kind of inline styles. You just get tokens from a scale and you apply them. So it was very familiar. But the client asked a question and I kind of froze and I was like, and I fumbled the bag, whatever. And then after the call, I was with Boris, who's the co-founder, and I was like, dude, I'm sorry, I just didn't know what to say. And he said, that's fine. What you said is not great, but here's for next time. Just say exactly this. And it's not lying, it's not BS, it's what we do. You answer, I honestly don't know, but I'm going to take it within the ThinkMill Brain Trust. We have a team of super talented people, and we'll think of the problem space and come back with the solution.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, damn, this is true. Like literally all we do at ThinkMill is like get a new problem that's so advanced in the industry that nobody knows, but then we have like a lunch and learn, like we share code, we like, how would you approach this? And then something comes up, literally call it the brain trust. Like you go in Slack, we have a code channel and share stuff, and then some magic through the people that are in ThinkMill, some magic always happens, and then you come back. And saying that to the client actually makes the company look good instead of just,
Yeah.
yeah, I know everything, I'll sort it out. Say, look, I genuinely don't know, but behind me, there's like crazy amount of people, and we're going to work out the best solution and then get back to you. And
Yeah,
when the
no,
client hears that, they're like, oh, they're going to think it through. It's not just going to be the first idea that comes to mind.
totally. And yeah, you think of the perception of like, how that plays out. If you are, a confident salesperson that just gives them an answer and it's not true and it turns out to be the wrong thing, like that's in their mind. They're going to be like, well, we can't trust this
Yeah,
company, or
what
they
else
don't
are
really know
gonna
what's going
just,
on.
yeah.
Yeah. But then like that idea of like, oh, this person is telling me the truth for one, but they're also going to like advocate for my problem internally. So now this person is going to go and like find an answer for
Yeah.
me. And then I have this, like this person is going to come back to me with an answer that I'm actually going to trust. Like it's such a, um,
And as a client, I'm paying for a team of 4 people deployed from ThinkMill. I mean, we're not cheap, but I'm paying for 4. But then they take the ID, and there's 35 other people that can nerd out on the thing. So technically, like it's like hiring a team of 50. We're about 50 at ThinkMill, and there's a lot of cross pollination of like, here's a problem I honestly don't know, or I think that's a good idea. What do you think? And then the entire company chips in and helps shaping the stuff. And we always kind of in the same React, Next, Node, Tailwind sort of like stack area. Sometimes we dip our toes like in Web3 and stuff that's completely new, but it means cross projects, even if the problem space is very different. There's a lot of like skills very aligned with the what it takes to solve that sort of problem. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of solving problems, we had a fun problem to solve this week.
Tell me about it.
Or last week. It happened Friday. I don't think I've actually told you what happened.
You
I just
shipped to
told you.
production on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, we sure did. Uh, I came. All right, let's set the scene. I was running late for work, so it was like
Good start.
I gotta, yeah, come on, kids, family, let's sort this out. I gotta go. I gotta get to work. And I like came outside. I finally sat down, and then I hear all this like noise up in the house, and I'm like, yeah, everyone's getting ready for, just part of the morning routine. These massive meltdowns and things. And then I heard my daughter come out the door and then like run down the driveway, and I was like, oh, this doesn't sound right, and like pulled back the curtains to see like make sure she's not running out onto the street.
Yeah.
And she came down and started like banging on the door, and I was like, what's up? Dad needs to work now. It's not time for playing. And she's like, no, mum needs you right now, come inside. And so I was like, oh, all right, let's take this seriously. And so like ran up to the house, and our son had decided to play with coins and put them in his mouth.
How old is he? The little one.
2.
Oh yeah.
And so, well, yeah, I know a little bit more about the story now. So it turns out he didn't just decide to put it in his mouth, but his big sister was encouraging him to play a game where he put the coin in his mouth and then lay back on the ground, which is a terrible idea as a child, with a breathing hole sized.
I'm having nightmares just imagining.
Yeah. It was, yeah. I'm still having nightmares about it. And so, yes, he had a 10-cent piece, which in Australia is, well, if you imagine the size of your breathing hole, it's about that size.
It fits perfectly like little seal.
And so he initially had inhaled it, which is a really, really, really bad thing. But my wife, who has thankfully been up to date on her child first aid, which I am now going to very much take seriously and get up to date on, like flipped him onto his back and gave him some back blows to shift it. And so thankfully it popped out of his breathing hole and down into his esophagus, which is just before like the throat that goes down to the stomach and things. And so, yeah, the really critical thing is like making sure that they can breathe. Like breathing is a pretty vital part of being alive. And so like he was still very upset. So by the time I went inside, it had shifted from his breathing hole to his swallowing hole, which is good. He was still very distressed and was like
No, I
gagging
bet.
and things because there was a coin jammed in his throat. Um, and so yeah, but thankfully he was breathing, which was very important. And so my wife kind of rushed to the hospital, and they took it very seriously there as well, which is good. That obviously a toddler like having something jammed in their throat is
Yeah, because
definitely
it
not
can
what you want.
move, just move around and relodge, and yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, exactly. They were really worried that it would pop back up and block
Back in.
his
Yeah.
breathing because that's yeah, once something goes down that tube, like it's much worse because firstly you can't breathe, so like that's
That's not great.
that's a very worrying thing. You need breath to survive, and then to actually extract it is much harder. And especially if it goes down into the lungs, like then you have
You go straight through the chest.
yeah,
And,
you've
yeah.
got to and you've got to cut into the lungs, which is like you
Not
can
great
do
again.
and can heal, but would probably cause, you know, long term issues. Yeah, having cut into his lungs as a 2 year old.
Wow,
So
man.
pretty worried about that, but yeah, they thankfully like they were trying to work out what to do, and it looked like because it had gone into his esophagus rather than sitting in his I keep just saying breathing tube. I'm just going to keep saying breathing tube.
Yeah, I understand.
Because it was in his esophagus, it was like, all right, we can actually like extract it. So we'll like he'll go under general aesthetic. So like he'll go to sleep. They'll put something down and pull it out. And they were like prepping everything to get ready to do that procedure. And then he was like, I feel much better. And he just like seemed to completely change. He wasn't like gagging anymore and wasn't
When they explained
distressed.
to him what was gonna happen, and
Well, while they were trying to work out and while they were like prepping everything, like they were moving very quickly. But he seemed to kind of calm down a bit. So they were like, oh, okay, let's do another X-ray. Oh, I missed the X-ray bit. That I have this terrifying X-ray of my child's skeleton with like literally like you can see the coin perfectly like in the worst position it
oh,
could possibly be, right in his throat.
you'll never
Uh,
forget that image.
no. I think we're gonna get it framed because it's just like yeah. Anytime he goes to put something in his mouth, we're just gonna point to that on the wall and be like,
Excuse
"This
me.
is this what we want to happen again?
Yeah.
Don't put it in your mouth." Um, but yeah. So while they were trying to work out what to do, or like getting ready to do the thing, he calmed right down. So they were like, "All right, let's do another X-ray and just see where it is." And thankfully, it had gone down into his stomach, which is a like much better situation because
Just comes out naturally after that.
exactly everything up here in the throat area is all very like small and coin sized, but once it gets down into the stomach and then through the intestines and everything else, like that's really good at pushing larger objects through. And so yeah, he thankfully was able to just pass it naturally.
Did you
When we
actually track to see when it comes out,
we
or
did, yeah, and
yeah,
we've kept the coin, so we
frame
have.
it next to the picture with a bit
That's
of
what
poo
we're
around?
thinking. Yeah, in the same frame, just like here's the picture of the X-ray, and here's like literally the coin that went all the way through his system. Um, but yeah, it was a terrifying
Oh
few
man,
hours there in not knowing how that was going to play out. But thankfully, it played out as well as it
Ter-
possibly could.
it yeah. Well, first of all, I thought that was gonna be a work horror story, which is why I said, did you ship to production? This is like by far worse than any incident in like deleting the production database. So, I mean, that's not great either, but like family and kids stuff. And the second thing is my kids are a bit older. They're 12 and almost 10, but they're quite often home alone. Oh, I'm here, but I'm like, I gotta record. I close the door. I literally soundproof myself from. And every now and then, I'm like, huh, they're not having a bath. That hopefully they're not just started bickering and went to the kitchen and grabbed a knife. Like you, like there's always a part you're like, I am literally I have no idea what they're doing, and they're still kids. And like, what if something, or yeah, one say, hey, you should try to swallow this coin, or like stuff like this. And now I think that you're gonna. I'm sorry to announce that to you, but you're going to struggle to do recording and stuff if the kids are home and your wife is not there,
Yeah,
because you're always gonna say like, what else do kids get up to? And the
Yeah,
worst part is when it gets silent is the most like if you hear kids playing and having fun and screaming, it's all good. When it gets quiet, you're like, ooh, I don't this is too quiet. But also that means you forget they're here. It's just,
yeah.
ah.
Even like when there's like the crying and bickering and stuff, you're like, yeah, everything's fine. That's normal.
Yeah.
Like the tears are just like that's a constant. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you hear, especially when you hear like a lot of noise and then silence, it's like, uh-oh, what's going wrong? But yeah, we've
Dude,
definitely become a lot more like, yeah, a lot more uh on top of everything, like
mm,
making sure that yeah, especially with like baths and things, uh getting a
yeah.
little less relaxed about all of that stuff.
Yeah, so my kids walk to school. It's beautiful. I watch them. There's the little path out the window, and directly from my office, I see the path, and they're on the scooters or walking and with little school uniforms. And I'm like, in Sydney, that we would drive them through massive traffic, and it was stressful. And now they just walk, or there's kangaroos next to them. And every now and then, like they're both they can walk by themselves, fine, but they still walk together because whatever. Every now and then there's the massive bickering and fight at home literally 5 minutes before going there. And the way my kids work is once they one up each other, like they're gonna look for the next thing to one up, and it gets nasty. Never physical, but it's like my daughter screams and gets offended, and my son pokes the button, he pokes the bear all the time, and they both do that. So it goes to the he's like, oh, if I do this, he's gonna scream, and she screams and keeps doing it. And I'm like, I am legitimately scared that they're gonna walk the path, and as soon as I can see, he's gonna do one thing, like he's gonna run faster than her and leave her alone because he knows that she's gonna scream. And I'm like, "Argh!" And then I drive them, or I walk them, or I walk with them, and I'm just yeah. I hate that. Sometimes you're like not being able to see just in case.
Hmm.
And once my daughter said, I want to walk by myself because I'm a bit scared of him now.
Oh.
And that made me cry. I was like, I told my son, the last thing you want to hear is your little sister that looking up to you for protection and guidance. And she wants to walk without you because she's scared of what you're going to do. And I think he really actually heard this, and he was like, he kind of brushed it off. And then the next day he was like, oh, like he was perfect because he probably realized I don't want to be that person. And, but yeah, it's, yeah,
Kids,
all these
man,
things
they're
of
just they're
living kids.
so awful to each other. It's crazy. Like at
All
no
yeah.
point in your life are you ever as mean as you are to like,
Siblings.
yeah,
Yeah.
siblings, especially at that age. Like even as you get older, you just like, you grow up and stuff. But like, yeah, I think between like 5 and 15, you are probably just like the absolute worst person you can possibly be to your siblings.
Yeah. And when you have one child, like of course it's like it's so my life has changed. Everything's so hard. And then you have two, and you're like, oh, it doesn't really change, or what, a little bit more work. And every now and then you do one-on-one, you take one kid somewhere, and you're like, this is so basic and easy. Like just
Yeah.
we have interaction. There is zero amount of like fighting for attention between someone else or the other one trying to sabotage the relationship. Anything I do with two kids, there's one that's gonna, unless they can be both involved, which is great. But if I do a one-on-one thing, you can see the other. It's just like dogs. If you pat one, the other gets all jealous, and that like the bickering comes from like attention. And me and my wife provide endless attention and love and care and stuff for our kids. It's not like we're like whatever, I want to play with my phone. But still, when you do one activity, the other one is like losing this. They're like, oh, what about me? What about me? And trying to do stuff to make the thing good, like pull the other down.
Yeah.
And it does.
Yeah.
It literally does. And every now and then there's pockets where they play together, and we both look at each other. And my wife was like, "Oh my god, they're playing together like they're friends." And but
Yeah.
then it goes straight back to, it's amazing.
Yeah, that like attention thing is very, very real. It's yeah, it's wild how much doing things with both of them, it's just this, yeah, constant like pulling in different directions, trying to get the full focus. And yeah, like you're saying, we do things one on one, and it's just like it's so easy, but it's also just like it feels like you are connecting on like a completely different level.
Yeah,
Like you're, it's
because there's
just,
no interruption and sabotage.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're feeling like fulfilled in their like, their need for parental attention and focus.
Yeah, which is
Um,
that's exactly what they need. They want the full dedication, and because there's another like annoying competition to this attention, like, what can I do to push that thing out? And
yeah, yeah, it's crazy watching back like some videos and stuff that we took uh, of our daughter when she was like the age that our son is, and
yeah,
it's just it's crazy how like calm and engaged she is, like because she knows that she's got our full focus, and so we're like playing a game or whatever, and she's just like completely focused on the thing. And then like looking at it now, it's just like she's completely focused on making sure that her brother doesn't get too much of the focus, or like
yeah.
it's
You
just
you
such
can see from exactly focus seeding on the like, this is too. He's getting too much of it,
yeah.
and no matter how you cannot fulfill that amount, like they'll always feel like the. And I used to be a school teacher. It's not your kids, so you don't care as much. But there's 20 of them, and it's the same. You talk to one, and you can see the other 19. Like, what about me?
Yeah.
It's funny. So group activities is amazing. Team sports, whatever you can do. Go on the trampoline with both of them. But although even that, like we have a trampoline, and sometimes after work, although I'm getting old, it starts hurting more and more. I try to not do this. But jumping on the trampoline with kids is awesome. But even then, you're with them. Nothing, no phones, no you full attention to both my kids, and like they are double bounce me, no, he doubles you pushed him twice, and this and that, and you looked at me seven, like they still, and I say, guys, if you continue bickering, I'm out, and I end up sometimes having to get out because they turn like this joyful me full dedicated to both of them equally to like competition. I'm like I can't do this.
Yeah, or like one of them wants to play a particular game, the other one wants to play like a slightly different variation of that game, and they're just pulling in slightly different directions, and there's just no way.
And I'm bouncing in the middle, getting like, this was not what I had in mind.
Yeah. But yes, son is totally fine now. He has passed the point. Great. He has like bounced back immediately to just like have
What is he doing right now though?
Right now? Probably swallowing coins
by himself. What
he like immediately the next day he was like just putting stuff in his mouth again. I'm like, come on, man!
Yeah, because you haven't printed the X-ray photo yet.
Yeah, we went to a friend's house. He literally found a marble, which is like a very bad one for swallowing. And like I just looked at it, he's like playing with the marble, he's about to put it in his mouth. I'm like, come on, man. We just went through this.
Let me tell you about Darwin.
One day away from the hospital.
Natural selection and survival.
When we went to visit him in the hospital, I was taking my daughter in, and it was actually her coin. And as we were walking into the hospital, she was like, "Hey, Dad, let's go get my money back."
I invested in this thing.
That's right. Yeah. Do I get interest for like going through this whole digestive system?
Yeah. He should get interest. That's funny. Yeah, so did you work out what the game was? Like they were playing like some like the vending machine or some sort of like.
Yeah, I think they were playing.
Put
like
one money and I'll give you this Lego shop. Yeah,
shops is what they've been playing a lot lately. So yeah, trading different things. And my daughter has just started doing pocket money, and like we've been giving her more than 10 cents, but she's been like collecting up coins from anywhere that she finds them in the house and putting them into this money box, and then has just like constantly has coins all over the house because she enjoys playing with them, and it's this exciting new thing. But I think we are a cashless family now. From now on, everyone gets a credit card. They can
well, if you swallow the card, swallow the credit card, it can.
That's right. We don't need to worry about like amounts of pocket money that she gets each week. She can just have a credit card, spend as much as she needs.
Yeah, teach her the way you pay. You tap your phone like this on the forehead.
Right.
There's no need to put coins.
It just magic happens behind the scenes.
Yep.
So yes, it was a terrifying.
Well, I'm happy it came out positive and all is good. Yeah. This is no joke.
No, but I think it's time for sick picks. Do you have anything that you want
I have, yes. I'm gonna first, as a joke, sick pick your incredible resolution of 240p on the camera.
Is it really, really bad?
Well, I see you, and the Twitter live stream also shows you. It's kind of like pixel art, like 8-bit.
Okay. All
But
right.
you sound perfect. All
Yeah.
right, my sick pick is deadlifts. I used to never go to the gym because I got my fitness through basketball and surfing, and you need recovery in between. So I actually didn't have time, uh, bandwidth, or like muscle recovery to lift. Well, I mean, I could, but I never got into it. And I hate like I'm one of these person like if I play basketball, my legs are always shut. So whenever I'm like I'm gonna lift weights, I literally typically do like shoulders and chest and abs and stuff and upper body because my legs are like already like begging for mercy. And so I always considered like I don't want to do stuff that isolates the legs. And then somehow I kind of got into YouTube rabbit hole of realizing that doing deadlifts actually works your whole body because you engage all your core and shoulder and like literally there's a few maybe obliques don't really work that, but it just it's a whole body stuff.
Where
And
do deadlifts start? Is it like all the way at the ground?
yeah, deadlift is
You
you.
lift
I
up.
should have started by explaining that. Yeah, you no, you never never that happens. You literally you have a barbell, so it's like this long bar with weights on the side, and you just stand right behind it with your legs spread, and you won't see me if I go down, but you pick you
You
bend your
squat
knees,
down.
pick it up, and then you literally straighten your leg and hold the bar against your hip or whatever legs. So it goes from the imagine picking up a big rock from the floor and then standing up straight and then going back down. It's kind of like the there's lots of variation, but there's nothing that goes up or like straight above your head or like squats where you go behind the on the
Yeah.
shoulders. Deadlift is from the ground to the hips basically. And so you're like, yeah, it's legs, but no, because you have to engage your core front and back really strong, otherwise your back just goes pulls out, and you have to push your bump, like you have to stay in a very specific position that kind of engages everything in your body.
Yeah.
And so I don't have I have space, but I don't have equipment. So we have Kmart in Australia, which is kind of like Walmart, and we have one barbell, and we had 5 kilos on each side, which is it's too light for me. Like it's the total like, with the bar of 15 kilos. And then my wife bought 4 discs of 10 kilos. So now I can go all the way to 455. And so now I'm very noob and I'm not trying to do my PB. And I'd rather do 3 series of 20, which is like a lot of reps, rather than like do 8 and find my like max resistance and try to gain muscle and stuff. I go like for the lean and like more like healthy long-term injury prevention rather than like beef up.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm on a standing desk, and right next to me there's that barbell with 10, 20, 35 kilos. And every now and then I just do like a little rep. I don't have any structure or try to structure my fitness, but just when you need a break and get some air flowing, I just do like a little 10 rep. And
Right.
it just when I stop, I can feel my biceps, shoulders, abs, everything feel like they just got a workout. So it's definitely makes the whole body. And yeah, it's kind of nice. I didn't know that a simple single exercise that you do could have so much impact on your whole body. And seems like deadlifting is kind of what it does.
Yeah, that's an awesome sick pick because I'm always like I never uh I never go for like weightlifting directly because like I don't just want to like have massive biceps or whatever and then just like everything else like it's completely out of balance.
Yep.
Um and so yeah, I never opt for like weight training stuff. I always do like other things that kind of work a range of muscles. So that's a really good thing. I never thought of how much core and like especially like legs and quads and stuff would be getting a massive workout
Yeah.
from
And
deadlifting.
so the way it begins is my wife is a is a long distance runner. She did triathlon and then moved to like ultra trail, like these crazy ass 100K races and stuff.
Wow.
She's a runner. I've never in my life seen her lift any weight. She just does cardio and like sprints and just running stuff, body weights, calisthenics, it's called, whatever. But even not much of that, just like planking and some core stuff. And she sees a chiropractor every week. She's not doing it. She used to do it professionally. Now she just does it, but she's also a running coach. So she takes it really seriously. And the chiro really said, hey, madam, you're like now in your 40s. and you need to start lifting weights and gradually heavier, because from that age, stretching and core alone is good, but it will not prevent injuries, and you literally start to strengthen a bit more, and that's why you need to do deadlift and squats. So she's the one who bought that stuff, which explain why we don't have like crazy heavy weights, because she's not trying to deadlift 200 pounds like and do her PB, but she said you need to introduce a bit of weightlifting in your stuff. And then I see that thing, I'm like, oh, may as well, like she's doing it. I'm also in my 40s and I also feel the injury around the corner. So I started doing this. And yeah, so my recommendation, I don't know exactly your age actually, but like further in life, you always kind of need to start bringing a bit of weightlifting. And just the feeling of like you can do running and walking and swimming, the feeling of this whole core engaged, it feels like you've done a full gym session, and it takes whatever, like 1 minute sometimes.
Yeah,
You gotta warm up a little bit, do some air squats before, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear the garbage truck that's just decided to collect the bins right outside, but
I can only hear my cicadas.
okay. But yeah, no, I have calisthenics rings outside.
Oh, you've got the jungle ninja monkey.
Yeah, I've
bars.
just got them. Yeah, hanging from a tree, like an arm of the tree, and it's nice because it's out like where like the kids have a bunch of like swings, and the sick pick that I did of like the rock climbing things that you can wrap around trees. So there's like all this stuff that all of us can do out there, and so it's a nice place that I can like do a little bit of exercise while also playing and being out with the chickens and stuff, which is very nice. But yeah, like a similar thing. It's crazy because the rings are so like unstable. They're not like a solid like chin up bar.
Yeah, it adds a lot of wobble and adjustment.
Yeah, you've got to like engage a whole bunch of different like muscles just to stabilize things while you're doing the kind of like exercise that you're focusing on.
Yeah, adding a bit of wobbliness and variation is amazing how it engages all the adjustment muscle and the obliques and stuff like. So that's one thing with the deadlift. I think it's very predictable and straight, and the bar is rigid, so you don't really have that. But then I guess you can do the same with like whatever they call dumbbells, like one in each hand, and it starts bringing a little bit of. Although, yeah you wouldn't do that with crazy heavy weights, because. But I am miles away of like people wearing belts and like this little thing around the wrist that kind of help so you don't have to grab too hard, and like that's when you lift crazy like 300 kilos, like Adam Wathan type of stuff. I'm like, like people at the gym that they have stacks of weights. There's about 50 centimeters of weight on each side. Mine is just like a MacBook Pro on each side, like really thin.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's my vibe. That's where I'm at, and yeah, it really does what I want, which make me feel like my legs have some dynamite and explosion and feels good. And yeah, that's I like it. You.
Excellent. My sig pick for this week is going to be a house battery. We got a house battery installed. We got that fancy Tesla Powerwall 2. And yeah, it joins our solar panels, which we recently got installed as well. And it's just like, not only is it, good for the planet.
Well, you work from home and electricity all day with lights and
totally, yeah. There's like, we have a huge amount of usage throughout the day.
Daytime,
to like an average house of people who go off to work or like home with kids and out doing stuff. But yeah, it's just not only is it good for all of those reasons, like long-term financial reasons and long-term planet reasons, but also the app is just so much fun to obsess over, because you're constantly like you can make choices as to like time brackets that it's charging the battery, or like going to the house or feeding back to the grid or whatever, or you can do it based on like usage, like when it gets down to a certain threshold. But like you've just got like there's so much stuff to tinker with, and like I just find myself like I used to like watch YouTube and stuff, and now I'm just like staring at this Tesla app being like, all right, what can we do? Where's our power going now? How much are we generating with the panels? How much is going back to the grid?
And you do all the laundries and stuff during the day, although now that you have the so I guess the battery, the way it works is it stores the extra generation for when it's dark, and then it pulls from that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if there's any left after that, you send back to the grid.
Yeah. Okay. So during the day, our panels generate more than obviously our house uses. And so previously that was just feeding back into the grid, which I don't know if that's like, I'm assuming that's a universal concept. People from the US, I'm assuming that's like what happens. Um, I'm sure all of their electricity is backwards or in different crazy
Just go
measurements or
out in an
whatever.
exhaust pipe in the grass. All the extra electricity. Yeah, I don't need that.
But yeah, so the excess solar used to, or the excess electricity from the solar used to go back to the grid. Now the excess goes into the battery.
Nice.
And so it will use the house first, and then
You got
any additional,
multi-tier fallback
yeah, will go into the
waterfall
battery, and then any additional from there, once the battery is at 100%, then it will go back to the grid.
to the normal, which
And then,
probably almost never happens, I guess.
yeah, we've had a couple
Oh
of
yeah, you're in Melbourne
quite
though.
cloudy days. The last like 2 days have been
Yeah.
crazy different. But prior to that, from when we switched on the battery, we just like didn't use one bit of grid electricity. It's all, yeah, like nicely stored in the battery, and then we've been using it through the night. But yeah, we do fun stuff now. Like usually the time when we like load the dishwasher and load the washing machine is
At
like
night.
after the kids have gone to
Yeah.
bed. We have like some time to get all of our
The
chores
chores.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very
great.
familiar. Yeah.
uh, and so both our dishwasher and our washing machine have a function that like you can delay the start, and so we've been
I
delaying it until
pack
like
it
10
and
o'clock in the morning, so we can load everything when we have the time to actually load it, but then
schedule
set
it.
it to come on once the sun is back up and is like,
Nice.
yeah, we're generating more electricity, which means that, yeah, like then throughout the night we're just using the battery for all of the other stuff, silly server and things that we have running 24 hours a day. And then, yeah, in the morning we
That's
have
awesome.
the sun comes back up and we charge up the battery again, do our big washing cycles, and then we're ready to go for another day.
Nice. So I haven't picked that, but we also, I don't have a battery, but we have literally last week installed solar panels on the roof.
Nice.
And so I got introduced to this whole concept of you've got that box on the wall and you can see if it's green, it's generating money and generating electricity. And I haven't really looked at the app. I don't think ours is too fancy. It looks like the generic material UI Google stuff that like when you see a UI that looks like all this Android, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get too excited, but I know that I can go and see how much I generated, how much goes to the grid. But because we financially can't just yet afford the battery, we literally profit during the day and then we go straight back to the like paying bills from the grid at night. But this has drastically, I work from home, so light stuff, and it brought discussions like having air conditioning in here because in summer it gets so hot. But then I can run the aircon. It's never gonna max out the generation because where I live it's sunny almost all the time. Massive array of whatever north facing ideal position, no trees in the way. But yeah, I've already started doing laundries and dishwashing and all the stuff during the daylight, and you start, all your habits start to change. You're like, oh, I've got another 1 hour. If I just put a laundry on now, even if you hang it at night, it's not great, but at least it's done. And yeah, it gets exciting. You start like fine tuning your lifestyle to not necessarily to save money, but just because you're like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm generating free electricity. Why not do it now or tomorrow morning?
It also just becomes like you're playing a game. It's like a
Gamification.
board game of life. You need to work out where you're going to allocate all your resources, and
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, Sim City or whatever, like theme park where you have to build your. Yeah, so but when we installed it, he was like, "Where do you want the box?" And I was like, "I don't know, next to the like switchboard." And he was like, "Yeah, but look, it's not high enough. Like you need to leave 1.50 meters. So if one day you get a battery." And I was like, "Oh, we talked about this. We don't want a battery now, but it's kind of nice to think." And then he suggested, "I'm gonna put it there, so you can have a rack of like 5 batteries up if you need at some point." And trust me, like in a few years, it's gonna be much more mainstream, and like you will be bummed out if they don't fit under, and they need to be close to the other machine, so it's well connected. And he was like, "I need your Wi-Fi password." And I was like, what? Why? And it's like to broadcast basically connects to the Wi-Fi and then broadcast the thing so you can go and see the like
All of your usage in real
the
time.
usage. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've looked the first day, and like I said, the UI looked kind of meh, but it said like generating. I could see what I was consuming, and generating was way higher, and the washing machine was running. And was yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome for
Yeah.
anyone who works with electricity at home during the day. And I'm in the outside shed here, but it's the same, like the system. It's the same electricity. The panels are on the main house, but then it comes here. And
Yeah.
so that introduced that idea of having aircon here, and then I can actually. My strategy now is a ceiling fan and all windows open, which that's why you hear the birds and stuff. But it's not even summer; it's kind of getting hot. But in summer it gets crazy hot, and so I would just either go crazy trying to record and sweat and burn out, or I would say, I'll do the recordings tonight at 9 p.m. when kids are asleep. It's all quiet and a bit cooler. But then you do this, and there's still like, funnily enough, there's a lot of noise at night, like crickets and frogs and bats, and like it's actually still quite loud.
Yeah.
And the light is changed. You don't have that natural light, so like I was like, now I can possibly close every window and have aircon and be very comfortable and fairly silent and do my day job during my day job. And then
That's a good idea.
yeah,
That's a good
what a
sustainable way to do
novelty.
it.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
great.
It's completely changed my perception of like, yeah, heating and cooling. I've always been similarly like, let's just open a window and put a fan on, because like we don't it's not unbearable enough that we need to run the aircon, or it's not
Yeah.
like, we'll put a jumper on because it's not hot enough, it's not cold enough that we need to put the heater on or whatever. But now it's like, well, but we're like sending all of this excess electricity back to the grid. Let's use it. Like, just, it's not even, it's a perfect temperature, but let's just turn on the aircon anyway.
It's mine. I generated
my electricity.
my bubbles. Like do you know in Nemo when
Yeah.
there's the lobster, and then there's always someone opening the chest and the bubbles go up. It's like, my bubbles.
Yeah.
And it closes it. Yeah,
But
it's
yes, the Tesla app is much nicer than the
the
Enphase
Google
app, which
Android.
is our
Yeah.
inverter one. And it has this like storm watch thing as well, so it like monitors the
Oh, like the BUM or whatever.
yeah, it
Bureau of.
monitors whether there are like big weather warnings coming, and then if there is, then it just doesn't use the battery at all. It just like pushes everything into the battery and uses more from the
Oh
grid.
wow! So it's smart plans ahead for
And
like.
then it goes, you might lose electricity for a few hours, so like we'll make sure you have a full battery.
Damn.
Which is, yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
That's another thing with solar is if technically if someone somewhere trips a wire and cuts the whole shutdown in the whole town. It happened a few times with like it's so hot in summer and everyone runs aircon, and then it just like it's blasts the whole neighborhood. Everyone like a couple of times I was like, oh, have I not paid the bills? What happened? And then neighbor both sides say, hey, did you lose electricity as well? And so technically with solar, you just keep going during the daytime. I guess that's how it works.
I think that's one of the reasons we had to get a battery installed. I don't know if this is the same everywhere, but in Victoria, if the power goes out, it automatically turns off your solar, because they might have people working on like the grid to fix it, and
okay.
so you can't be pushing electricity back in.
Because you're sending
so-
it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So by
that makes
having
sense.
a battery, you like you're able to store it
Then you switch
in
to
your house, like it completely disconnects
completely
the connection
internal
back and forth to the grid.
local host. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And so that's one of the reasons that we actually decided to go with the battery. We also probably financially shouldn't have done it, but we get a lot of
Long-term game, my friend. You will
yeah.
look back and say, we saved so much money in hindsight. It hurts when you do it, but if you fast forward to the future you're like, of course. Imagine if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have the luxury of like putting aircon when it's hot without worrying in one bit about the bill.
Yeah. But the like there are a lot of blackouts where we are, and there's a lot of like in storms and things because we live around a bunch of trees. Trees fall down on power lines all the time. And like we've had two times where one was the electricity was out for 9 days, which was just wild. It was also during COVID lockdown, so
the
legally
milk in
weren't
the
allowed to.
fridge would definitely be
Yeah.
dead.
we legally weren't allowed to go anywhere, even though we had no electricity here. And it happened to overlap with there was like a water contamination thing that happened as well for like the water
Nice.
supply to where we are. So we couldn't drink the water. We
No,
couldn't
yeah.
like turn on the lights or anything. We had no electricity. And
Let
we
me
were
guess,
in
it
COVID.
was Super Base launch week as well.
Yeah, thankfully not launch week. But yeah, it was when we had like Maggie was quite young, our daughter, and so yeah, like it was not a fun time to have no electricity for 9 days.
Man.
And then more recently we had one that was out for like 5 days. But yeah, it's just like for me to do my job now, like I need some
It's
pretty
also like a
reliable
fallback, yeah.
electricity.
If
So
you're
yeah,
live
just
streaming,
having
yeah.
just having it as like a fallback if the power goes down, even if it's just out for like 10 minutes or something,
Yep.
then
So
I can just keep working.
would you last 9 days with that battery supply if it's
Well,
full?
because it's disconnected from the grid, the solar charges the battery during the day, and so then we
Oh,
just run the
even
battery during
yeah.
the night, and then the solar charges the battery. Yeah, so it's like,
And you can last a whole night with
yeah. I mean, I'd probably need to
so you can
like
technically
maybe
cut off the grid completely. You're literally off grid
the
on
problem
on
is on
concept.
cloudy days like today,
Yeah.
we like it runs out throughout the night. We like the battery
Because you have
depletes
your whole
enough that we
server
need to
rack
pull
and
a little. Yeah, I need to turn off the server rack. See, that's the thing is like if the power was out for multiple days, there are some things I could switch off that maybe aren't necessities, and maybe
Yep.
we would, be even
subscription.
more
Yeah.
strategic with our washing patterns and things like that. And maybe I wouldn't plan to record a video during the day and run all of these lights and cameras and stuff. Maybe I would just, choose to do a live stream or something that's less intensive.
Use daylight. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's like the bottom line or the moral of the story is that anyone who works from home should consider if they can solar panels, because it just makes everything during the daytime that most household, like if you look at the electricity usage, it's like just before from 5 p.m. until 8 9 people do dinner, cooking, bath, showers, all the lights on, watching TV, Netflix, and that's when it spikes. So now if you have a battery, like you can, but that's like if you're home during the whole day, you're going to have a spike pretty much during the day as well. And if you can take all of this and say, nah, thank you, I'm just generating it from the sun, which I'm trying to protect from because it's so sunny all the time.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Yeah. I kind of wish we did it earlier, and we kind of refinanced the home loan to I think it cost about 10 grand, $10,000 to do the,
That's what
and we're
we
like,
did with the
we don't
panels
have
and the battery.
literally, we are as close as paycheck to paycheck as you can be without being super stressed out all the time. But we like, one of the reason is the mortgage, to be honest. We made the mistake to not move up the coast before COVID, when you could buy this house for like 200,000 or 300,000. So we bought it for like 3 times the price, a bit more. But we like just by refinancing you paying it anyway, so just doing a slight change. That's almost meaningless. You kind of like, now you can get the solar panels for free because you kind of allocated that money. My wife is the CFO in the family. She's got a business degree in like business management and stuff and finance, and I'm like, yeah, you do this. I would just buy. I would have bought the battery and all this and not try to use any loan money and then just have debt and then just leave my money in the bank. I'm not very. Nah, I'm better than I'm saying right now, but I don't have like crazy finance literacy. She does, so
Yeah. Well,
every now and then she's like, "Can you sign this?" I'm like, "Yes, I'd sign happily."
It makes me feel much better about our decision to do exactly that. So, yeah.
Did you do? Was it also like a home loan?
Yeah. We put it on the mortgage. That's why I'm saying it's not like the best financial decision to have done it and do the battery as well. But in terms of needing it for work, in terms of like the amount of time that I'm actually here,
if you do have regular like blackouts because of it
Totally.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Love it. Now I want a battery.
Just get one. That's my financial advice. Just do it. Just buy stuff. It's great.
Sell
And
a
just
few
put it all
more
on the
Epic
mortgage
Web.
and worry about it later.
Everyone buy my Epic Web Pixel Perfect Figma workshop so I can have a battery.
Just put it on the mortgage. You don't
Okay.
even have to put Simon's Workshop on the mortgage because it is so affordable and such great value and such a great
Mm.
investment in the
Mm.
future of your skills
Mm.
as a web developer that you should just go buy it anyway. Don't even need to put it on the
Oh, that was a
mortgage.
nice ad segment. You got this.
And on that note, thank you so much for
No,
joining us
no,
for
no,
another
no,
week.
no, 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 no. I have a self plug, shameless plug. It's gonna be very short. Next week, exactly at this time of the day, I'm not going to be able to record because I am at Laracon AU, the Laravel conference in Australia. Taylor Atwell and a bunch of the core team members will be there. And it's a 2-day conference. I'm speaking on Friday. It's a similar talk I did in Epic Web Conf in Utah. It's called Unleashing Designers with Tailwind CSS, and it talks about cross-functional collaboration between designers and devs and how Tailwind kind of amplifies and simplifies this. And the stuff we talked about, the crypto fancy card game stuff, I show a little bit of this, and it's going to be a great talk. I'm super excited to meet people for the second time or the first time around, and being at a conference with Twitter friends is always a good thing to be in. So stay tuned, and probably in 2 weeks we can do a recap of the conference. I was thinking maybe we can do a live recording like we do with some of the speakers or whatever, but also it's during the conference day, and I think I'd rather mingle with everyone than try to bring my roadcaster and set up a recording. Now, I'm sure some people will do it. There's Matt Stauffer and a few people that also podcast, and I think they have grand plans to do stuff. Maybe we'll dial you in if I'm invited on the podcast, and we're like,
I'll be ready to go. You just
there
let
you
me
go.
know.
Stay ready.
Yeah, I will. But that's awesome. Will it be live streamed?
I don't know, and I don't think so. So Laracon US did the live stream thing, and Laravel is always like they polish everything they do. And the conferences, they had like a really cool intro where there's a gate and there's like a smoke and the music. Every speaker could choose the entry song, and then they just walk through the smoke door with like just amped up and swaggy.
That's awesome.
And then the live stream got shut down for copyright infringement, so they had to take all of it down.
Because of all the music that they were choosing was like actual music.
And I know for fact at Laracon AU, there's also an entry music for everyone. So maybe they're like, we've learned from. I don't think they got penalty. Like it's just you have to take it down. I thought you could say, leave it on and you get the profit for the music. Like you get the. But maybe the live streaming is different than video. Because when you do a YouTube video and it gets stricken for copyright, it says it doesn't affect the video views, but the earnings will be going to the people who submitted the copyright, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be live stream, but it will be. Definitely, maybe there will be videos.
Cool.
Yes, at some point. I don't know.
Sure.
Just
fly
to Brisbane. It's at the
around.
Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane.
I've been
and
there.
It's Thursday, Friday next week.
That's a really nice campus.
I think so, yeah. And the whole, if you check the laracon.au website, the whole vibe and the motto is making waves, and it's like surfy and splashy colors, and I fit right in.
Nice.
And I already said we have a chat with the speakers. I always put like long pants and even sometimes collared shirt because I'm on stage and it's like kind of big deal. Like this time I'm gonna have like not super short, but like above the knee, light blue shorts. Like I'm gonna go with the vibe of like, it's summer, it's Brisbane, it's surfy. I'm a surfer. Let's rock with it.
Nice. Awesome.
I'm excited.
Simon, you ready for me to do my big wrap up?
No, you have to plug yourself shamelessly.
Oh,
you don't have to.
Database.new and create a Superbase project and build something cool.
And show John what you've built.
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter and I will help amplify it and would love to see it. Thank you so much for joining us for another week. Actually, head over to, I think I talked about this on a previous podcast, but head over to database.build. Yeah, it's in the show notes. If you head over to database.build rather than database.new, we have an awesome like Postgres sandbox where you can chat prompt AI stuff, like ChatGPT style interface, where you can
Ooh,
say like, "Oh, I want a multi-tenant database that has, you know,
AI schema generation.
yeah, yeah." And so
Ooh.
it generates the entire schema. It can even populate it with data. It can like generate helpful like report SQL queries that you might want to run. It can even generate charts. Um, you can like
Nice.
drag a CSV in and it can create like your entire structure from and data and everything from that CSV. And then you can export the entire thing out as like uh, a PG Lite database, which is similar to like SQLite. So like a database in essentially a text file, which you can then just go and chuck in like an S3 bucket or whatever.
So
Uh, Simon's excited.
is P I'm gonna expose my knowledge here, but is PG Lite like SQLite is like MySQL but file based? Is PG Lite Postgres file based?
Exactly. Yes,
Whoa,
it is.
what? Why have I not heard of this? I guess it's a big deal because Postgres is a very big deal.
Yeah, this is something that the Electric SQL team and also Superbase and some other people have been working on. And yeah, is a super exciting project that
Damn.
basically allows you to like create a whole Postgres database in a browser. So from that database.build site, you can actually like you can build out a whole database and then you're like, cool, I want to like connect this to my application. You can set up like basically tunnel from your browser.
Mm-hmm.
You can say like, give me a public URL to be able to access this Postgres database, and then you can connect up your Next.js app as if it's talking to like just a live Postgres database that's hosted somewhere on the internet. You can get other people to like ping queries directly to your browser. Super cool. And then when you're ready to launch it into production, you can just export it out as a PG Lite database and go and chuck it anywhere that you can run a PG Lite database.
This is amazing.
It's sick. It is very cool.
Yeah. See, I'm glad I prompted you to shamelessly plug yourself.
Shamelessly plug my company.
Yes.
Yes, it is very cool. It's probably the most exciting thing that like the thing that's made me most excited about what we've been working on recently. I
Nice.
think it's super cool, super powerful, and definitely unlocks a lot of like offline first background syncy stuff, which is yeah, I think the
And then you go on something like fly.io that kind of distributes globally the PG Lite file on the
yeah, well,
CDN, so you have like proximity of.
even better than that, the Electric SQL team have a hosted solution where you can, or like a hosted syncing service where you can host your Postgres database to like your single source of truth with something like Superbase or anywhere you want to host a Postgres database. And then it has a syncing service that sits in the middle. And then everyone, like all of the clients, have their own local version of the database running in their browser. So it's like super fast and it does
Yeah.
all of the background syncing automatically for you. So anything that changes in the origin database is automatically propagated out to all of these other like connected clients.
Crazy. That
Super
doesn't get
cool.
much closer than in your browser alongside the
Exactly.
code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
about as
latency.
close. It's like the edgiest edge that there is
That's sick.
inside the user's browser.
Because my first Superbase, I was a noob, but I tried an app and I deployed the front end on the CDN on Vercel in like Sydney, whatever, and then the database was in US East. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, my local host was so quick, and now it's like taking 7 seconds to load 6 pizza recipes or whatever, because it did the round trip like across the world.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
It's
that's
yeah,
great.
a way to globally distribute lots of little like yeah, individual databases that all automatically sync and stay up to date. Very cool. Go and check out the
It's
Electric
great.
SQL project. And yeah, definitely check out database.build. It's a very cool site.
Good stuff.
On that note, thank you so much for joining us for another week. It has been wonderful catching up with you, Simon. I hope you have a lovely 2 weeks, and I'll see you when you're back from Laracon.
Yes, thanks for joining us in another very short episode of the Navbar. We've missed last week and missing next week, so you got a triple episode this week. And yeah, looking forward.
It's just too fun talking to you. You
Yeah.
got to be like less interesting and less fun to catch up with if you want to do a short podcast.
Or less verbose. All right.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you later. Bye.
And I